I'm joined here now with Lauri Schoenfeld, an American author. And for our viewers who may not know who you are, could you just tell us a bit about yourself?
I'm an author of the new debut novel coming out at the end of August, Little Al. It's a psychological thriller. I'm also a mother to 3 beautiful teenagers with wild and crazy personalities. And I'm also the owner of Inner Enlightenment, which is a business built around supporting and helping teens, adults, and kids with PTSD and anxiety to be able to express in a creative way to help support them through the feelings and emotions that they're going through.
And speaking of your newest book, Little Al, coming out at the end of the month, where did the inspiration for this book come from?
The inspiration, actually, I had really bad postpartum depression after my second baby. And I personally have struggled with PTSD and anxiety, very heightened anxiety. I actually went to go get in the shower. My 2 little kids were supposed to be watching a show. And for whatever reason, I had this massive sense of just panic and anxiety that something bad was going to happen to them. And it was very real in my body. I jumped into the shower for 3 minutes, made it really fast, could not hear them at all, no noise. And I instantly thought something was wrong. And I went out, they were fine. They were smiling and like waving at me, "Hi, mama." But it was that feeling that was so real in my body that stuck around for weeks afterward of, what would I do if my girls went missing? Because I had just felt that deep emotion, and that just spiraled into the story of Little Al.
So, with a lot of themes in the novel relating to those, what can readers expect?
Little Al, you are expect to go into a mystery. A lot of the whodunit feel. There is multiple POVs, so you just have no idea who is who and what's going on throughout the whole movie or the book, excuse me. Hopefully movie. We always want that as a writer and an artist, right? There are lots of deep emotions of panic, anxiety, hence it being a thriller. But also self-discovery. Adeline Rushner is my main character, and it really is a self-discovery journey of trying to understand and figure out who she is versus who she thought she had to be, to figure out what happened to her daughters. And so there's a lot of her own hero journey walking through hard topics like child abuse, PTSD, and anxiety, but also a lot of heroic parts where she is really tapping into intuition and listening to her heart and her voice and trying to separate who she is versus who she thought she needed to be. So all those beautiful elements are just mashed right into Little Al.
You mentioned Inner Enlightenment, and with that, you also host a podcast. So, what drew you to starting this and starting the podcast?
The Enlightenment podcast I started about 2 years ago, and it was right after I started Inner Enlightenment, where I had a few opportunities where people asked me to come speak on their stage about embracing fear. And I was terrified, Jasmine, so terrified. And we're talking about embracing fear. But I will tell you that after I got up there and shared my story, I was not expecting the feedback afterward of so many people coming up and saying, "Thank you for sharing your story. I feel so validated and heard, and I want to tell you about my story." And it built this really beautiful piece of communication and connection of getting to know other people. And I just needed that one space of being able to share my story. And then it kind of just took off from there. So the Enlightenment podcast is a safe platform to help anyone who wants to share their story, as we all have those beautiful voices and stories within us to share. We just need that one space and people to root for us to help us get off the ground so that we can start really seeing what we're made of and soaring in our own element. And so that's where that was born.
And if anyone is looking to listen to the podcast or even find your book, where's the best place to go?
The best place would be my website at laurischoenfeld.com. Also on Facebook, just under Lauri Schoenfeld, I have multiple places and links up where you can find me and little Al.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Lauri.
Thank you so much for having me, Jasmine. This was a lot of fun.